I'm very excited to be here with Deepak. Deepak, thank you. You made it. You've got a very
Thank
busy
you.
schedule.
The alternate was a better option. Debbie was planning to come on stage and dance.
I
You would have
was.
enjoyed it more, but now you get me.
I, I did say I would do an interpretive dance if Deepak didn't show up, but unfortunately for everyone in the crowd, he did show. But if you want to see my interpretive dance, I don't know, maybe, no, I'm joking. I don't actually do interpretive dance on the weekends, although maybe I should. Maybe that should be my 2025 resolution. But to get to it, so that we can all get to the really fun part of today, which is, I think, the happy hours that I'm sure everyone is dying to get to. We have a really exciting conversation to have, and I think after sitting here this afternoon and listening to some of the other sessions, it's really quite relevant because the topic of AI and data has been prevalent through some of the other talks that have happened on this stage this afternoon, and we're taking a bit of a different perspective on that topic. It is obviously very of the moment, and I think there is lots of ways to think about this topic, and Deepak, with your background and your experience, we're going to kind of tackle it through a few key themes. But before we get into that, I just wanted to do a quick introduction. Deepak is a purpose-led leader in digital transformation, data analytics, and AI. And before joining Niagara, Deepak was part of global brands like Coca-Cola, Mars, ABB, Mu Sigma, in strategic roles driving business growth. So you've obviously had an incredible career to date, and a lot of experience, and I guess really on the forefront of driving transformation for different businesses. Do you want to just speak to that really briefly before we get into the questions?
Absolutely. I think it's an exciting time to be in the data analytics and AI space, to say the least. I think I see a lot of correlation to my the current time and when I started my career journey. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, so I started my career with a company called ABB in their robotics division. So my boss, one of my leaders used to say this, in a robotics, if you are automating a manufacturing plant, so it's a funny way he would tell this. See, you need to have a manufacturing plant with one human and a dog. The human is there to feed the dog, and dog is there to make sure that the human does not touch any machines. And that is the level of automation robotics was expecting at that time. Now, if you think about the area of AI, there is a lot of automation expectation with the right kind of data foundation, the right kind of large language models. With the agentic ecosystem, there is a big opportunity to completely transform the space that we are operating in. So I'm very excited to be part of Niagara and part of this community who is focusing on driving the next growth agenda for the biggest brands that we are operating in.
Thank you. And I think it's actually quite interesting that you started your career and your background in training is mechanical engineering, because really, if you think about the parallels between kind of that world and obviously the world that now we are in with AI and the use of data, I think it's fascinating to just think about the application of those two things and how it really is there to help us improve and drive efficiency. And really today is talking about profitable growth. So how do we efficiency is a word that can be used for a lot of things, but really, how can we save money and free up time and resource to focus on the things that really matter? And a few of the other speakers have talked to that today through their different experiences and roles and how it's helping them in their businesses really, do things that are, I guess, more valuable as a human, and let the machines do the things that really, I don't want to say are time wasters, because it's not wasting time, but it's they suck up time, and maybe they're not as valuable as using our human intellect to really spend time on the problems that matter. So with that, taking a step back and thinking about organizations, what is your perspective on how organizations should first approach leveraging AI?
That's a very good question. So large brands, I mean, at Coke, at Mars, and I think as a data and analytics practitioner, sometimes we get into the habit of building a data first strategy or sometimes an AI first strategy because we are very passionate about the technology or sometimes we are very passionate about the options these capabilities are going to give us in the future. And I think traditionally, 15 years back, we used to start building data warehouses. 10 years back, we started building data lakes. Now, if you are in the technology profession, I think with MarTech stack, we are starting to build lake houses. So that is how it's called. So you have a huge foundation. Building on that foundation, we start generating knowledge and insights. Based on that insights, we generate actions which drive value. And I think my perspective is to invert that pyramid. I want to start the journey by starting with a value first or a decision back approach. And I think that is very important for large brands to drive profitable growth. Now, what is the value or what is the business problem that large brands are trying to accomplish? In many cases, it can be driving an integrated brand experience to your consumer. It can be giving a clear consumer journey across the omni-channel ecosystem. The business objective or the value objective is going to be quite different. But it is important for data and analytics AI practices within the organization to have a value first mindset. Once you are clear on the value first or like the actions that you want to take for generating value, you can figure out what is the knowledge and insights you need, and for that, what is the data that you need to have, and what is the technology that you need to leverage to, generate those insights. So moving from a data first or an AI first mindset to a value first, business problem first mindset is going to be very important. Now, in the age of AI, especially generative AI, I think, every marketer or every practitioner, or every business leaders in the organization are quite excited to do experiments. But I think one thing we should not lose focus on, what is the purpose of driving these experiments? What are you trying to solve? Otherwise, we'll end up creating a lot of solutions or capabilities in silo, which not many people are going to use, and over a period of time, that is not going to scale. So having that value-first mindset is very critical.
Thank you for that. And honestly, I wish some of the previous speakers were sitting in the room right now, because a lot of what you just touched on was covered by others that have gone through MarTech transformation in their organizations. And exactly to the point that you made, which is what is the purpose, and really making sure that you are thinking about the purpose and not just using AI or dabbling in AI for AI's sake, ensuring that there is a real need for it and using that to really drive everything that you do. I think that's really critical, because there is the potential to create things that aren't scalable and not usable, and really erasing the whole point of AI, right? Which is to drive efficiencies, to help people be more efficient and better in the work that they do. So thinking about organizations and really focused on that value first mindset, what is your perspective on how do you get the different stakeholders and teams within an organization and the leaders on board to that kind of approach where you're focusing on that purpose and not just kind of testing it for testing's sake?
Yeah, so if you want to truly transform the organization, leveraging the power of AI, you need to win the hearts and minds of multiple functions, multiple stakeholders. Large organizations have a habit of operating in a lot of silos. So I think, let's think about retail media investment as an example. If you think about where does the retail media investment in any large brands come in, it sits in 5 different pockets in general. A lot of dollars are sitting with shopper marketing, something with the e-commerce team, something with national media, something with trade. We have a large organization, when they grow really big, we have a habit of operating in a lot of silo, and sometimes we lose the big picture. And every different functions will be incentivized on a KPI which might not be aligned to the entire brand strategy as well. I think that is one of the challenges that you see. So to truly transform the organization, building that connected one organizational mindset is going to be really important. And how does that manifest? If you are able to do that, especially leveraging the power of AI, you will be able to build one connected data foundation. Take out the islands of experimentation into one connected capability. Once you have that connected data foundation, I generally use this example. See, you need to think about explaining the elephant in the room, not like for blind people explaining the elephant, touching the trunk of an elephant, somebody touching the leg of an elephant and explaining as 5 different organisms. So how can you explain the elephant in the room by connecting all of these data? I think that's going to be very important. And it is very closely connected to the data strategy of an organization as well. So how can you integrate the zero-party data with the first-party, second-party, third-party data, with the internal data? And with the advent of technology, now we are talking about synthetic data as well. So how do we integrate all of these so that we have one single source of truth? Driving that source of truth and having that organization alignment on the strategy that we need to accomplish is going to be very important.
Thank you. And you actually segued into kind of the next question, which was really about the silos within an organization and how do you overcome and really build purpose when you have so many competing, I guess, teams that are ultimately meant to be working to one single purpose, but obviously, as happens in most large organizations, every business unit has a different focus, and then kind of double-clicking down a little bit more on kind of media activation and dollars and how that comes to fruition. And for me, that's something that's near and dear to my heart because my background is agency, so I used to buy media a long time ago. Before there was automation, it was very manual, pressing buttons to buy individual TV spots. And, you know, in today's world, it is so complex and so fragmented. And so the promise of AI to help alleviate some of that and create that, you know, holistic ecosystem is so great. And so having, you know, to your point, you know, a plan and a strategy around how to create, you know, a really cohesive organization and ensure that every individual business unit and, you know, whether that is media activation and, you know, we're talking about that very specific thing, or it's between marketing and sales and product and, you know, analytics, people understanding what is the ultimate purpose that we're trying to, you know, deliver towards, and then how do we build a system using AI, using all the data sources that, you know, are available to really bring that to life. So
absolutely. I mean, I have a question to the. Have you guys read about this book, How to Make an Elephant Dance? Any of you have read it? I think it's a fantastic book, actually. I mean, I think, aligning a large organization's incentive when there are functional teams who are competing, who are having competing priorities. I think sometimes you need to build the skill or the change management mindset to make the elephant dance is what I would say, actually. I think it has a lot to do with the cultural change as well, and the change management mindset the transformational teams need to bring in.
I like that. I think I'm going to have to read that book. The title alone is interesting to get me to look into that, but obviously a lot of value out of learning kind of the idea behind that, which I think all of us that have ever worked in a large organization can really identify with, is, you know, it does take a lot to get things moving in large organizations. So something else I kind of wanted to shift into as we continue to talk about, you know, the use of data and, you know, how do we most effectively leverage data, so your data as well as data that you have access to. I think there is a proliferation of data out there today. You touched on it briefly before. there is, I mean, you told me about synthetic data today. That's not even something that I was aware of. That was, that is becoming available to marketers and brands to use and businesses to use. But, in your opinion and in your experience, how do you most effectively leverage, your data, so the data that you hold as a brand, and then all of the other data that you have access to really drive results for business?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of platforms which are available where you can integrate your zero-party, first-party data with the second-party data or the third-party data. And I think especially with retail media networks, we are getting really good second-party data. So think about for any large brand, like, some of the big retailers like Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, or Amazon, they are actively starting to give data to brands so that you can ingest that data along with your first-party data so that you can do better hyper-personalization. Or better personalization, or like better targeting. So there are a lot of capabilities available in the marketplace. Now, I'm not suggesting you go with one platform or another, because I think you will see that, for example, if you're working with, I'm sure that if you're a brand, you are definitely investing something in Amazon ads, right? So maybe Amazon Marketing Cloud is good to integrate in that case when it comes to Amazon specifically, if you have a huge Amazon business. That might not be the right solution for your Kroger or like for your Walmart, depending on which brand you are owning. And the brand is that strategy is going to look quite different for a different retailer, etc. So the answer is not to go with one platform, but work with different platforms which are interoperable, so that when you are generating an insight, when you are partnering with one of the retailers, you are able to leverage it for activations with different retailers as well. So that's the way I would think about it. See, I think gone are the days when we are building MarTech systems or technology systems which are built to last forever. I think we have to build ecosystems which are adaptable. So what does that mean? I think if you are signing a contract with a large tech provider as a software as a service kind of a license for millions of dollars, I think I wouldn't do that this day and age because of the advent of tech. And things are changing really fast. So the flexibility of connecting different platforms is the adaptability that you need to have. Your ability to build a connected data foundation, your ability to work with different large language models, like agnostic to one, depending on the progress each models are making. Those are some of the thought process that you need to have.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's good advice for a lot of things in life. So kind of moving into the idea of AI and data, and this is something that is a very broad topic. It is something that, we could take in a lot of different ways, but I wanted to touch on the idea of the responsible use of AI and data. That is something that is very important to me. It's important to the company that I work for. We have a chief privacy officer and legal team, and we really put consumer privacy at the forefront of everything that we do. I think that is something that has been touched on today by other speakers, just in terms of, thinking about, AI it's here, it's not going anywhere. It's something that we all knowingly or unknowingly already use in our day-to-day lives. I think it's now becoming a critical part of our industry's framework and how our industry will evolve and operate moving into the future. So with everything that we do in our industry, and this is probably very relevant to the previous panelist who works in the pharma space, they already understand regulation and all of that because of their vertical. But just more broadly speaking about what's your perspective I'm sure everyone has a different perspective on this, but what's your perspective on how we should be approaching the responsible use of AI? And again, this is a broad topic, so.
So yeah, I think the responsible AI strategy of your organization should be very closely linked to the culture of your company, right? You would have heard this definition of culture is what you do when nobody else is watching. Now, without the regulations, other than CCP and GDPR, I think there are not many data related or AI regulated, there are not many regulations in place. So the responsible AI strategy of your organization is a reflection of your culture. And I strongly recommend to have a responsible AI strategy which is non-negotiable for your organization. You need to also think about what are the pillars within responsible AI, right? The best way to learn about if you don't have a responsible AI strategy currently, I think one good place to start is to start partnering with your technology providers. I'm sure that you would be working with the likes of either a Microsoft or a Google or a Amazon. All of these guys have very strong responsible AI foundations or principles that they have put in place. There are also nonprofits like Responsible AI Institute who we can partner as an organization to build the AI principles. Now, there are several factors within responsible AI strategy of your organization. Privacy is one. The inherent biases within the model, or diversity of your team. There can be so many different important factors that you can think. Primarily, as an organization, you need to build a team, which is a cross-functional team between your technology team, with your public affairs team, with your the chief legal counsel, etc., and the responsible marketing team to build a responsible AI policy. Now, see, one aspect of it, which is very important, is data privacy. Now, data privacy is a stance as an organization that you have to take. Now, there are many organizations who have the ability to collect the data from children, as an example. And there are a lot of organizations who have taken a bold stance that, hey, we are never going to target the children, as an example. Now, that is very closely related to who you are as a company and what is the culture. So what I'm essentially trying to say is, like, the responsible AI standard of your company is a reflection of who you are as an organization, and elevating those standards is going to be really important.
Thank you. I agree. And I think knowing that the laws and I guess the regulation around AI is always going to maybe be a little bit behind how quickly organizations and technology moves, having that perspective and knowing that it's really up to the corporation to set those principles and standards, and that there are organizations out there, like the NGOs, that can be a support to companies that maybe are lacking that resource internally. I think that's really important. I personally am a huge proponent of the ethical use of AI and data. I think that's incredibly important as a consumer. And I think as an industry, we should definitely all be in support of that. We only have a few minutes left. I know it's the end of the day. I wanted to thank you for making it here. I know you have a very busy schedule, and I appreciate you not leaving me here to do a dance. Before we wrap up, I wanted to just make sure if there was any questions, comments from the audience.
See, in all my career, I think I've never seen one organization where you have a perfect data foundation which is connected without silos. So let me start by telling that. Because of the design of the organization generally happen at a functional level. So you have sales as a function, marketing as a function, supply chain, manufacturing. So in general, the data generation and collection, the system of records are generally happening through different ERP systems. The data generally happens to be in a lot of silo. And I think the story was same at Coke, Mars, and a lot at Niagara as well. Now, there are three key themes that I am actively starting to work on. Building a culture of, hey, it's my data and it is my responsibility to make sure that the quality of the data is there. I think that mindset, that data quality, the connection, the curation of the data is the responsibility of the team. I mean, it is always easy to blame a system, but I am the one entering the data, but I can easily blame the system behind it, right? I mean, so building that cultural change, that is something that I'm actively focusing on. The second aspect is on training and upskilling both the data team and the business teams. I think that is another important aspect that I want to focus on within Niagara as well. So once there is clarity on how tech can enable, say, a data quality framework, as an example, it would make a huge change. And the final thing, other than training, that I would say is like implementing processes. So you can have, a lot of new AI capabilities, but if the processes belong to the Jurassic age, it won't work. So you need to make sure that it's a combination of training and upskilling the people, leveraging the right kind of platforms or technology, and leveraging the process, people, process, and platform, as we call it. I think that is very important when it comes to building a connected data foundation.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.